let's start. Just as a quick reminder, there is another cram course this weekend as well. That's this Saturday. You're with Annie from 9 to 5. Again, same drill as last week. Lane will send you guys the email with Annie's Zoom link Friday morning. So if you don't have that by Friday afternoon, Friday evening, please just reach out to Lane or I. Again, we understand your test is the 2nd, your final exam is this Thursday, cram course is Saturday. So maybe you want to come to the cram course, you've passed the final exam on the 2nd, and now you're preparing for your state exam. Maybe you're eligible for the retake on the 6th. So you come to the cram course. So again, we just wanted to open it up to you guys, give you those opportunities.
I have a question. So how are we doing the test? Like, is it a Zoom link or like how are we getting on there to take the test?
You log on to Zoom like you always do, and I'll give you a class marker link when we're ready to.
So I'm taking it in your morning class. Do I have to get the Zoom link for your morning class?
No, you're taking it with Lane. So you and Lane need to work those details out together.
Okay. Gotcha.
Other questions about the cram course? This Saturday, 9 to 5. Kind of works out. Things happen for a reason, because you guys heard Jane's perspective this past weekend. So now you have a different opportunity to hear another perspective on Saturday. Questions or comments?
Julie, I have a question. The 100% review, the class marker practice test, how many questions on there?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
So if we click through it,
there's 85.
Thank you.
Okay.
On the final exam. Okay, cool.
85. Thank you. I was just trying to make sure, so when I just do it in one sitting, I prepare. Yeah.
It's also like if that 100% thing, that's 2.5 hours. It's not like 4.
But it's only 85 questions, right? So that shakes out.
Yeah, it's fewer.
I don't know if you already said, but is the final 85 questions, or is it like for the class?
My exam is 112 questions.
Okay. And what score do we have to get? Don't we have to get higher than we have to get on the real one?
You need a 75% to pass my exam.
Okay.
And then your state exam is graded separately. There's a national section and a state section. I do not remember those numbers off the top of my head.
Okay.
Can you take the practice exam more than once? I think you can. Yeah, I think you can. But does everybody understand this practice exam isn't your final exam, right? It's just another tool to help prepare you guys. So there's 2 final exams in the 100% material. And then there's that comprehensive exam in your book on page 819. Anything else? Again, you guys, we're actually going to finish up tonight, which is nice. So that leaves us tomorrow to wrap up a few last things. The big star of tomorrow is going to be going over the rules and expectations of the exam. So whether you're here or not tomorrow, it's your responsibility to know the rules and expectations of the exam. So if for some reason you're not here, you need to watch the recording before you come to the exam. Fair enough? Failure to follow the rules and expectations could lead to me taking your exam. Can I stress the importance of that? Maybe you've taken a pre-licensing class before with another instructor and you know their rules and expectations. Tomorrow, we're going to go over mine to make sure we're all on the same page. We'll also have some time, maybe a little bit of time tonight, but tomorrow we'll also have some time for kind of a free for all. So if you guys have specific questions or things you want to go over, we'll handle that in an organized manner. I'm not going to let everybody on mute. We're going to take you in the chat in the order in which you come. So we're going to handle that in an organized manner. So that's our week, actually, isn't it? Today's finishing license, law, and commission rule. Tomorrow's the finishing touches on everything, rules and expectations, free for all. And then Thursday, we test.
Are we allowed to ask you questions about questions on the practice test?
On the practice test, yes, just reach out to me, send me a, on the final exam, what we're going to learn tomorrow during the rules and expectations, we can't discuss that. You can't discuss the final exam. You can't discuss your state exam. But for your practice test, sure. I'm here to help until you get the class marker link for your final exam. I cannot answer questions once the test is started. That makes sense, doesn't it? Yeah. Anything else? All right. Let's jump back into license, law, and commission rule again. We're still working our way through the comments of license, law, and commission rule. And where we left each other on Thursday, we were in the throes of talking about advertising. And a couple of things we said about advertising. First off, the broker in charge is responsible for the advertising that comes out on behalf of the firm. So your BIC, especially as a provisional broker, your BIC should be checking your advertising to make sure it's in compliance with commission rule, to make sure there's no discriminatory language, also to make sure that you're properly promoting your firm. Your firm is a brand, and we need to make sure you're using your firm's name right, the firm's logo right. My firm's logo is blue and white, but I just can't use any shade of blue. There's a specific shade of blue that I have to use. That's our brand identity. The best example I know to give you guys about brand identity are our golden arches. Don't we know that's McDonald's from miles and miles and miles away? That's McDonald's brand identity. So again, the BIC, especially as you guys getting started, is going to make sure you're in compliance. Specifically, a commission rule about advertising is you can't have a blind ad. And a blind ad is advertising a home for sale or your brokerage services and not including the name of the firm. Always remember, whose listing is it? It's the firm's. So if Julie Campbell puts something out on Facebook that says, I have a house for sale, what's the impression of the public? Whose listing is it? It's mine. So we need to make sure that we list the firm. Otherwise, you have a blind ad. And guys, please, where a lot of agents are getting slapped on the wrist and told not to do this again, if your email is like julie@kellerwilliams.com, that's not sufficient. You actually need to say, Julie Campbell with Keller Williams has a listing for sale. You guys with me? We've got to put that brand in. The email address is not enough. Social media is a really big offender right now. I think I mentioned this last week. We could probably spend all night tonight, part of tomorrow, debate on whether or not you should get a personal Facebook page or a business Facebook page and which one you should use. And we're not getting into that debate right now. Obviously, it's not going to be tested. But it's things for you guys to start to think about. If you have a business Facebook, at least you can throw the firm name in, and every advertisement you do will be under that, right? You'll be covered. If you're going to go the personal route, you just need to be sure that you're including that brokerage firm. No blind ads. We need the brand identity, the firm identity. So this is where we left off on Thursday. Do we have any questions? Continuing on with our commission rule, and specifically in general brokerage practices, just things that all of us have to do once we're licensed. There's a commission rule on delivery of instruments. I think we've danced around this one a little bit. We have a duty to deliver instruments within 3 days of execution. So first off, let's talk about what the heck an instrument is. An instrument is just any document related to this transaction. Instruments generally start with our agency disclosure, agency agreements. Eventually you go on and get it under contract. Maybe you're a property manager and you have a lease agreement. And eventually, fingers crossed, we get this thing closed. A general rule of thumb, if the consumer signs it, they deserve a copy of that. Remember, we're all consumers and we know what that's like, right? If you sign a legally binding contract, such as an agency agreement, don't you want a copy of that? Absolutely, absolutely. So any phase of the transaction, and this is why this commission rule is important. There are a lot of agents out there that think they can wait until closing, send everything from the transaction, and say, it was nice working with you, here you go. What does the commission rule say? We have 3 days from execution. So when you get that agency agreement signed, you have 3 days to send it. When the contract gets signed, you have 3 days to send it. When the closing paperwork gets signed, you have 3 days to send it. Thank you. And everything in between. And guys, how long does it take to send an email with a PDF attachment talking about, here's our signed agency agreement. I look forward to working with you. Have a nice day. How long did that take me to type? Did it take me 3 days? Probably not. Please also note the rule says my job is to deliver it. Can I do anything with it once they get it? Can I make them print it out and file it away, or tell them to put it in a secure place, or tell them to file 32 it? Our job is to deliver it. If you email it, do you think it's a good idea to keep the sent email showing the date and the timestamp that you sent it? Yeah, because what do we document? Everything. So once you go in and send it, you go into your sent file and you flag it for that transaction file. Hopefully you have files in your emails for your different transactions. You can flag it and keep it all together. All good rules have an exception. This one is no different. The exception to this rule is when we're delivering offers to sellers, in which case we deliver all offers to sellers immediately, but in no event later than 3 days. Thank you. This could be the scenario where you are the listing agent. You receive an offer on behalf of your seller. As the listing agent, you need to deliver that to your seller immediately, but no event later than 3 days. This could also be the case if you're a buyer's agent and your buyer's going after for sale by owner. If you're a buyer's agent, your buyer's going after the FSBO, you're the one communicating directly with the seller. So once your buyer signs that offer, we have a duty to deliver that offer to the for sale by owner within immediately, but in no event later than 3 days. We also have a commission rule on retention of records, how long we have to keep records. Anybody remember how many years we keep all records? Yep. We've already decided we're going to document everything, right? Now that we've documented everything, what are we going to do with it? Well, we keep it for 3 years from the successful or unsuccessful conclusion of the transaction. Maybe it closes and the closing paperwork is the conclusion of the transaction. Maybe it doesn't. And your termination paperwork is the conclusion of the transaction. That's what we mean by successful or unsuccessful conclusion. Whenever you're done, completely done, that starts our 3-year clock. Retention of records, keep everything for 3 years at least. Also under general brokerage rules, talk about our brokerage fees and compensation. If we stand to make more than the advertised commission, let's say, for example, the builder is offering a buyer bonus or buyer's agent, a buyer's agent's bonus for anybody that closes before April 15th. The builder is going to offer you $5,000 if your buyer goes under contract and closes before April 15th. Sound nice, doesn't it? Guys, we have got to disclose that to our buyer client because that's above and beyond our commission. And in this idea of a full and timely manner, timely manner is not sitting at the settlement table going, oh yeah, as soon as you sign, I get an extra $5,000. Timely manner is before they make the offer. They need to take all the information into consideration when they're deciding to make the offer. So we need to tell that buyer, if you proceed and purchase this home, I'm going to make an extra $5,000. Whoops, I keep doing that. Sorry, I know what I'm doing. I just need to stop. Some restrictions on your compensation. We don't have, first off, we don't have to disclose our commission to customers. Disclosing commission is a client level service. And the other piece about restrictions, we don't have to disclose my split with the firm with anybody. The client knows via the agency agreement how much the firm is going to collect once this closes. It is nobody's business of the firm's commission how much I'm going to get. Then, as we said, the commission does not get involved with your commission. Commission doesn't get involved with monies. The exception to that was our timeshare developer. If you're not happy with the commission split you're receiving from your firm, please don't call the real estate commission. Find a new firm. Remember, they're all different. As we've discussed, our unlicensed persons, we can only compensate unlicensed persons by paying them a salary or an hourly. We cannot pay them commission. We cannot pay them compensation per transaction. Unlicensed employees cannot be paid a per transaction basis. And always remember RESPA. When it comes to our fees and compensation, if RESPA is involved, we cannot give or receive a referral fee, a kickback to or from a settlement service provider for recommending services. So if I recommend my buyer use this home inspector, I mean, I really think I like this home inspector. I think they'd be good. I think they'd do a good job for you. I would highly recommend them. The only thing the home inspector can do is thank me. They cannot compensate me in any way. I can't receive, RESPA says I can't receive $1 or a donut. for recommending settlement service providers. Remember, RESPA is only around if a lender's around. So if it's a cash buyer, can I receive $1 for recommending services? Sure. RESPA is only around if the lender's around. Do I have to disclose that $1 to my buyer as a bonus? It's more than we agreed on. Consider this. A lot of times I get asked why. Why do buyers care? Y'all put your pencils down for a second. Let's just think for a second. We've already decided, we've said on numerous occasions that the seller typically pays commission. Yes, seller typically pays commission. Commission is based off of the sales price. Who pays the sales price? The buyer. So technically, who's paying that $5,000 builder bonus? Does it stand to reason that that's built into the sales price? That's why we have to disclose it. That's why we have to disclose. Questions on that? So continuing on in our comments section, last week we talked a little bit about the broker in charge. When we talked about the broker categories, provisional broker, full broker, broker in charge. And we talked a little bit about the designated broker in charge and being BIC eligible. So now let's talk about requirements to have a BIC. First off, if you are a real estate firm or you plan on becoming a firm, you have to license your firm. You have to create a firm. You have to license a firm. Actually, you're going to learn about that in post-licensing. So you learn about creating a firm. And then you got to get your firm licensed through the real estate commission. And the firm must have a designated broker in charge at each office location. So some of you, I asked last week if you want to open your own firm, and several of you said yes. You don't necessarily have to be the BIC, but you got to find a BIC. So each office location, if your firm has multiple locations, then you have multiple designated broker in charges. And you can't have BICs supervising multiple locations. The rule is one designated BIC per roof, under each roof. So some of you may want to one day start your own firm, either become a BIC or find yourself a BIC, run your own firm. Others of you may choose not to run a firm. In that case, you would be set up as a sole proprietor. You want to go out on your own, but you don't want to create a firm. You really don't want to be a BIC. You can be a sole proprietor, which is an unincorporated business. There's some caveats. If you want to be a sole proprietor, you cannot have a trust account. You cannot advertise your brokerage services in any way. I'll come back to that one. And you cannot have more than one broker affiliated with you. Sole means how many? Sole means one. So if you're going the sole proprietor route, if you plan to advertise your services, maintain a trust account, or bring on another affiliated broker, you got to create a firm, get the firm licensed, and either become a BIC or get yourself a BIC. Let's talk about advertising these services as a sole proprietor. If you are a sole proprietor and you can't advertise your services, then you're basically operating for referral fees, right? People are sending business to you. people that should know that you have a license. And you're basically working for referral fees. You cannot advertise your services. You can't hand out a business card. Your business comes from those that should reasonably know that you have a license. Who are those people? Mom, dad, significant other, BFF, coworkers, people that should reasonably know that you have a license. If you're going to do any of these activities, you have to create a firm, get the firm license through the commission, and either get a BIC or become a BIC. As a reminder, to become BIC eligible, you have to have an active license. You can't be a provisional broker. You have at least 2 years full-time experience or 4 years part-time, and you got to do the 12-hour BIC course. So you guys are at least 2 years away from the day you get your license. You're at least 2 years away from opening your own firm. We want you to have some experience. We want you to have a couple transactions under your belt, and then additional training of the 12-hour BIC course. Once you're BIC eligible, you're positioned to become the designated broker in charge. Meet these 3 requirements, you're BIC eligible. A lot of brokers become BIC eligible and have no intentions of ever becoming the designated broker in charge. They do it for their own status, for their own peace of mind. You can be BIC eligible for the rest of your career and never be designated. Once you're BIC eligible, just like all us other brokers, you got to renew your license annually. We will talk about that in just a second. We'll also talk about how you can keep your license on active status. I say just a second, I mean somewhere between now and 8:30 tonight. So maintain BIC eligible status. You got to do what the rest of us do. Renew your license, keep your license current. If you fail to renew your license, if you fail to keep an active status, or you lose your BIC eligible status, you got to start all over. You got it. Well, not all over. BIC eligible over. You don't have to come back to pre-licensing. No, not all over. But you do have to go back and take that 12-hour BIC course again. They'll rerun you through the whatever the criteria is. And if you decide you just don't want to be BIC eligible anymore, you just notify the commission when you renew your license. Again, talking about renewing our license in a bit. So they know you no longer wish to be BIC eligible. Then you go back to just being a full broker again. Questions on BIC eligible? How we become BIC eligible?
If you have it, is there a negative to it that you may want to release it other than having to?
Not that I can think of. Maybe unless you retire, you just don't want to deal with it anymore, right? So now you want to be a sole proprietor, and that's my retirement plan. I'm going to become a sole proprietor. I'm going to live on referrals down at the beach somewhere with my toes in the sand. Now y'all know where I'm going to be down the road. Are they going to join me?
Going back to the sole proprietor, you can't have a trust account if you have to have a firm in order to have a trust account?
Correct. So
Okay.
if you're a sole proprietor and you want to maintain a trust account, you got to become a firm. Any of those 3 activities, you got to be a firm. So you're limited as a sole proprietor. I mean, pretty much referral status only. Maybe you can work with buyers, but you don't have access to the MLS. You don't have the tools you need to do the job, right? A carpenter needs tools, right? What good is a carpenter without a toolbox? So same thing with agents. We got to have our tools. But you couldn't take a listing, because if I put a for sale sign in the yard and say, call Julie, aren't I advertising my services? So that's why we say just stick with referral only. You're not putting your name and contact information out there. Anything else on this? Yeah. Another thing under general brokerage activities, please tell me we're sick of hearing this. Please tell me you guys aren't going to do this. We cannot draft. We are not attorneys. Y'all tired of me saying this? I hope so. You think there's a reason why we say it over and over and over and over again? Guys, here's the deal. Buyers and sellers are going to ask, can't you just draft this? Can't you just fix the contract? Can't you just take out your red pen and make this say what I want it to say? They're going to ask. It's not their job to know the parameters of my job. It's my job to know the parameters of my job. And we cannot draft legally binding instruments. The only thing we're allowed to do is fill in the blanks of the pre-printed forms that have been provided to us either by the North Carolina Association of Realtors or an attorney. Remember what Old Car says, I follow my client's lawful instructions. Another general brokerage practice. Again, this one we talked about regarding our offers and sales contracts. If we're not using the forms provided us to buy LL&CR, if we're going out to an attorney and we're using other pre-printed forms, there's a commission rule that you need to be aware of. We're not getting into this commission rule in this class. We probably will in post licensing. But there are about 19 provisions covered in Rule A or Rule A.0112 that say if a broker is using anything other than an LL&CR form, it's got to meet this rule. Please understand, we can use stuff other than what LL&CR provides us. Those are just the most common forms that we use. So if we are going off LL&CR, it just has to be in compliance with this rule. Again, I just have this here for reference. There's a general brokerage provisions about reporting criminal convictions. So we all know that you got to do your background check to get your license, right? We got to do a criminal background check to get your license. Once you get your license, if you get yourself in trouble with the law, you're not off the hook. There's a commission rule that says if you've been convicted of a felony or misdemeanor, and I know you guys are writing furiously, but I need everybody to note the word convicted. Does that say charged of a felony or misdemeanor? You don't have to report it into the commission until the gavel comes down and the judge says guilty. I'll be really honest with you, where a lot of agents get themselves in trouble with this is DWIs. So if you get yourself pulled over, you do not have to call the commission the next morning. I got pulled over yesterday. You don't have to report it until you've been convicted. You also have to report if you have another occupational license. This is not about your driver's license. This is another professional license. Anybody a CPA, a CNA, cosmetology? What are some other professional licenses? If you get yourself in trouble with your other licensing board, we've got to report that to the commission, and we have to do so within 60 days of the conviction or the disciplinary action. When it comes to this rule, I always think of mama. I don't know what kind of house you guys grew up in, but in my house, it was better that you fess up to mama than you let mama find out about it on her own. Anybody else have a similar mama? You going to get in trouble if you tell her? Probably. Are you going to get in trouble if you don't? You better believe it. Commission's the same way. You get convicted or you get a disciplinary action from another license, you've got to report it. Are you going to get in trouble? I don't know. But what I do know is if you don't report it within 60 days, you violate a commission rule, and that could be a disciplinary action all on its own. Anybody live near a border? South Carolina, Tennessee, Virginia? Anybody close to a border? A couple of you? You may at one point want to get licensed in the other state that you border. Call that state's real estate commission, or better yet, go to Google Virginia Real Estate Commission. But if you get yourself in trouble with that other state's real estate commission, that's an occupational licensing board, and we need to report that. Again, I don't know what they're going to do, if they're going to do anything. The rule doesn't say convict you for getting in trouble. The rule says notifying the commission within 60 days of the conviction. So once you've had your license, you're not off the hook. Questions on this?
Actually, in one of the tests, it actually had both of those. It was an action by any other occupation, and it had the DUI, and the DUI was not the answer to that question.
So maybe they weren't, did it say it was convicted? I'd have to see the question.
Yeah, I'd have to see it now
It
too.
might have said charged, because I know that's one they like to trick you guys, is with that word charge. So I'd have to see the question. Guys, that's the thing with these questions. They're pretty precise, aren't they? Particularly the state level. Covered under general brokerage provisions is how we handle our RPODs and our MOG. Remember our seller disclosures from Unit 8? Mandatory forms with optional disclosure, which means the seller doesn't have to disclose. Remember, the seller can hide behind caveat emptor. What's caveat emptor? Buyer beware. I have fun with caveat emptor in October. It's not as much fun in February. Caveat emptor, buyer beware. The seller doesn't have to disclose. They have the right on the RPOs to say no representation. If they do say yes or no, they must do so truthfully. Regardless of how the seller completes their disclosures, we always have a duty to disclose material facts. We always have a duty to disclose material facts. If I could word that another way, twist it just a bit, we never have a reason not to disclose material facts. Once we learn of a material fact, disclose, regardless of how the seller completes the form. We cannot complete the seller disclosures for them. They're called seller disclosures. So the seller's responsible for completing those forms. And failure for the seller to complete and provide the forms to the buyer may be an out. If the buyer doesn't receive these forms, they have 3 days. They can choose to terminate their contract, get their earnest money and due diligence back. They're not terminating because they don't like how it was completed. They're terminating because they didn't get it. So the seller has a duty to provide their seller disclosures. It could be an out for a buyer. Another general brokerage provision that we've talked about is in Unit 21 when we looked at our settlement statements. We have a duty to make sure our client gets the closing disclosure. Generally, the attorney does that, but it's our responsibility to make sure that it happens. Because how many days after execution do I have to deliver instruments? Everybody show me how many days? 3. Is a closing disclosure an instrument? Absolutely. So big reason to go to settlement is to watch that happen. Watch the attorney hand it to your client, ensuring delivery. We also have a duty to check those closing disclosures for accuracy, the things that we should reasonably know. And when we find errors, we need to notify the lender and the attorney. Some things that we can check for accuracy, some things that we have knowledge of, information from the sales contract. So we can look at the sales price and due diligence and earnest money and seller pay closing costs. And is there going to be home warranty? Were there any amendments of those monies to the contract? We can verify invoices to be paid. The home inspector will send you a copy of the invoice for you to forward to the attorney to make sure they get paid. Once I've received that invoice, I can now verify that 1, it's on, and 2, it's accurate. We can verify that our prorated taxes are correct. We can verify interim interest, excise tax, commission. Y'all want to verify that your commission's right? Yeah, heads bobbing. We also have a duty to make sure our client's money is right. Just as important as our commission is that our buyers and sellers' money's right. Questions on our general brokerage provisions, general brokerage duties. Up next in the comments is the long-awaited section of the escrow account, also known as the trust account. We have danced all around this thing. So now we are finally here, talking about our escrow account, our trust account. Names are used interchangeably. Here's the basic definition of a trust account. A trust account is an account that has somebody else's money. Your money does not belong in the trust account. The only monies in the trust account are other people's monies. So as real estate agents, both for sale and for lease, we may be holding monies at some point. We may be holding somebody else's money. And if we're going to hold somebody else's money, we need to make sure we have a trust account set up. Maybe your firm will have one. If your firm doesn't have one, the closing attorney has to. I'm telling you, a lot of sales firms are doing away with the trust account because it's such a liability. Property management's still maintaining. Some of your bigger firms still have a trust account. So please don't just assume you're going to join a firm that doesn't have a trust account. Why don't you guys tell me in a private chat, for sale or for lease, what are some monies that we would hold in the trust account? If you're going to hold money that belongs to somebody else, and Nicole, I'll get that in just a second. So what are some monies that we would hold? We're just an impartial third party. So property managers, you're going to have a trust account for your security deposits. We need an impartial third account. The tenant doesn't have access to it. The landlord doesn't have access to it. Possibly down payments. If you're looking to do an option to purchase, you may have an option fee or down payment. Sales agents, I saw earnest money deposit, which I absolutely agree with. I also saw a due diligence fee, which is not correct. Let's think about this. The due diligence fee goes directly from who to who? The due diligence fee is money that the buyer pays the seller. Goodness, you type fast. Money that the buyer pays the seller. If we have due diligence in our hand, we're simply acting as courier. That's not our money. We're not safeguarding it. We're just acting as delivery man. We're getting it from point A to point B. So due diligence fees do not go into the trust account. Other people's money, earnest money, security deposits. No, you have to deliver it within 3 days. Rule of thumb says, guys, seriously, if you have somebody else's money in your hand, you're responsible for it. So my suggestion to you is get it where it needs to go. Get it delivered. As a matter of fact, this just came out last week from the commission. Somebody posted on Facebook. And there's a rash of agents setting up like Venmo accounts or Cash App accounts to serve as the go-between the buyers and the sellers. So the buyer Cash Apps the money to the agent, and then the agent, I guess, I don't know why, but agents are getting, we cannot hold due diligence fee. And if you're going to set up a Cash App to handle somebody else's money, you need a trust account. Another question I had come in, does the individual agent need a trust account? No, just the firm. The firm is ultimately responsible for the trust account. So get it to where it needs to go. With the trust account, there's 3 primary features. The first feature is it's a separate account, meaning it's not your operating account. Your operating account is where your money goes, where you pay your bills. Your trust account is an account that just has other people's money. It's a custodial account, which means people that have money in it can't have access to it. So if you're holding earnest money on behalf of buyers and sellers, they can't have access to that. The broker in charge is ultimately responsible for the trust account. They may allow their employees, including their unlicensed employees, to manage it. But ultimately, the BIC is responsible. So they should be in control of who has access to the trust account. Back in my unlicensed employee administrative days, I maintained the trust account for my office. But I had to report every month to my broker in charge. And do not go to him if that thing isn't balanced. He didn't want to see me if that thing wasn't balanced. Another feature of the trust account, it's available on demand, which, let's just say you're a sales firm and you have a bad day. And every single one of your contracts terminate today. You need to be able to distribute that earnest money on demand. You can't say, whoa, let me transfer some funds. It's available on demand, which means if everybody terminates today, we need to distribute that to the appropriate party today on demand. Now we do have the right to make sure that it's cleared the account. So if you just deposited it today, you're not expected to write a check back out for it today, right? We do have the right to make sure it's cleared, that the funds are available. So trust account, separate custodial, available on demand. We said it's a demand deposit account. It's in an FDIC bank, federally insured depository institution. I know a lot of credit unions are not FDIC. So they would not be eligible to maintain your trust account. The bank that you have your earnest money in or your security deposits in need to lawfully be doing business in North Carolina. They don't need to physically be located here, but they do need to lawfully be doing business in North Carolina. And as a trust account holder, we agree to make our records available for inspection by the commission. If the commission walks in the door and says, show me your trust account books, the firm can't say, ooh, give me a minute. If the commission walks in the door and says, show me your books, they've got to be available for their inspection or investigation. I sometimes feel like the real estate commission's like the IRS. So if you hit their radar, maybe complaints filed against one of the agents in your office, if you hit their radar for any reason, that may be a good opportunity to investigate the whole office, the whole operation, the whole firm. Are they going to? I don't know. I'm not the commission. But when you open that window just a teeny tiny bit, you may let them in. The actual words, trust account or escrow account, have to appear on all information. May that be your signature cards, bank statements, deposit tickets, checks, anything has to specify that this is a trust account or an escrow account. The reason being, let's say you have a firm that is just one person, and that person is the designated BIC. That designated BIC is the firm, and they have a trust account. If that one person passes away, we can't have this money locked up in their estates. If that person passes away, it needs to be clear that this account is not part. We don't want to have these funds frozen. It's not part of their estate. So by putting trust account or escrow account on everything, you're letting anybody know this is what it is. You also need to keep accurate records. You need to show money coming in, money going out, Who's the buyer, who's the seller, who's the tenant, who's the landlord, lessor and lessee. I'm sure there's more modern ways to do it, but if I can date myself, back in the day when I did the trust account, let's see, this would have been 04, 05, 06, somewhere in there. I had an accordion file. You guys know what I'm talking about? It kind of spaced out when you need it to. And I had these green ledger cards. And I had the address, the buyer, the seller, and how much earnest money. And when that thing terminated or closed, I closed out that green ledger card and I put it in the paper transaction file. We didn't have any e-documents back then. Again, I'm pretty sure there's a more modern way to keep up with it. I had access to the cabinet with the trust account stuff in it. My broker in charge did. And another staff, just in case something happened to me. It was very limited who could get in there and access and touch these files. Questions so far? We got a little bit more to say about trust account. Anything we've covered so far? Okay. Let's go ahead and take our break. We come back, we talk more about trust account. We're back. Welcome back. All right, so let's take attendance. Oop. And continuing on with our trust account. So we've got to have the actual names on it to indicate anybody that touches it, but it's a trust account. We got to keep accurate records. Real estate firms that choose to have a trust account, you have some firms that do only for lease. You have some firms that do only for sale. You have some firms that do both. And only one trust account is required. So if you're a firm handling multiple monies, you're handling security deposits and earnest money deposits, then you only have to have one trust account. Let's see, I got a question. Do you have to create a new trust account for every transaction? No. You can hold all the earnest money deposits in one account. You just have to keep accurate records. If you're a property manager, you can have all security deposits in one account. You just have to keep those accurate records. So only one account is required. Again, all good rules have an exception, don't they? So to the exception to this rule, if you're a property management company that manages HOAs, each HOA needs its own trust account. So you may have 4 HOAs plus an account for security deposits for your other property management. You guys with me? Each HOA gets their own trust account. So that would be the only time you would need multiple trust accounts. Thank you. The number one violation with the trust account is commingling. Easy. The number one violation that we see in the disciplinary action over and over and over and over again is commingling. Commingling is putting your money in the trust account or putting somebody else's money in an operating account. Two separate things, and they can't be combined. Remember, the trust account has somebody else's money. Your operating account is where you put your checks and turn around and pay your bills. You pay your staff, your employees, your power bill, phone bill, cable bill, coffee supplier bill, right? That's your operating account. That's what you need to operate your business. So let's say you're a firm that manages a trust account and you're flat broke and you have no money. And you get that email or that letter from the city that says, if you don't pay your power bill tomorrow, we're going to cut your power. Tomorrow's what, Wednesday? And you know you're getting paid on Friday, but you don't have the money to pay it tomorrow. So can't you just borrow some money for the trust account to pay your bill to keep your lights on? And then when you get paid on Friday, you'll put it back. Isn't that okay? Can't you do that? No. No, you can't borrow. Remember, it's on demand. Commingling is the biggest violation. Again, every good rule has an exception. The exception to this rule, if the bank that has your trust account charges maybe a monthly fee or a quarterly fee or an annual fee, you can have up to $100 of your money, never any more than $100 of your money in the trust account to cover those fees. And when that $100 runs down, you can replenish it. Again, no more than $100. Because think about it. If we don't put that money in to cover our monthly service fee and they deduct for that monthly service fee, aren't they deducting it from our earnest money deposit, our security deposit? Aren't they taking it from somebody else? So you can have, again, only if your bank charges a fee. And you can have up to no more than $100 at a time to cover those fees. Trust accounts can be interest-bearing accounts Whether or not the escrow agent can collect interest has to be in the contract, the agreement. By the way, it is in our offer to purchase and contract that the escrow agent may have an interest-bearing account. If you're gonna make interest, every month you make that interest, you transfer it from your trust account to your operating account. That's your money. As we said, the broker in charge is responsible for the trust account. If the commission walks in the door and says, show us your records, they're talking to the BIC. Another reason why the access should be limited, it should be controlled. I mean, y'all, my BIC made me go to Raleigh and take a class on managing the trust account before the days of Zoom and online. I had to drive to Raleigh. Make sure it was being managed and controlled properly. The commission does offer a trust account course. So for those of you that are opening a trust account, see the commission's website. And as we said, records need to be kept accurate and current. Now, nobody really defines what current is, but the bank statement comes out once a month, right? So when the statement comes out once a month, make sure your statement matches. It all balances up. The trust account class that the commission offers, it'll teach you how to balance that. It'll teach you how to journal. It'll teach you how to do all that. They have a very certain way they want trust accounts managed, and that's what the trust account course is for. So if you're becoming a BIC that's going to maintain a trust account, or if you're going out on your own, some of you we talked about the other day might be landlords now. And once you get licensed, you're held to a higher standard. So you may need to look into that trust account course a little bit sooner. Just go to the commission's website, look under education. You'll find, I don't remember if it's online or Zoom or I'm not sure, but all the information will be there. There is a commission rule on disbursement. If the real estate firm is holding the earnest money, we cannot distribute the earnest money any sooner than 10 days prior to settlement. Again, if you affiliate with a firm that has a trust account, part of your new agent training will be how they want their trust account handled. Who do you take the money to? How do you request it when it's time for closing? They'll get to all that. The commission says, if the real estate firm is holding it, we can't disperse it more than 10 days prior to settlement. If the attorney's holding it, then the money's already there. So when we say disperse for settlement, we need to get that money to the attorney so they can credit it back to the buyer. But if the attorney's holding it, they already have it. So they just transfer it for settlement. And then there's this rule on disputed trust funds. Let's have a good conversation about this. We all know what our offer to purchase and contract says, right? If the buyer terminates for any reason or no reason within due diligence, they get their earnest money back. If the buyer terminates after due diligence, they are in breach and they lose the earnest money. Contract says that. Parties signed it and said they agreed to it. However, if we terminate, both parties have to sign to release the earnest money. Even though that's what the contract says, they still have to sign to release it. And failure to release it means that the earnest money is disputed. Despite what the contract says, the escrow agent cannot make a decision about what happens to the earnest money. The parties must release it. Remember, it's not the escrow agent's money. They're the safeguard. They're safeguarding it for the buyers and the sellers. So if either party doesn't agree to release it, the money's in dispute. The escrow agent will hold the funds, see if we can't resolve this dispute. If after a certain amount of time, and I do not know what I don't remember what the certain amount of time is, but if after a certain amount of time, if the parties haven't come to an agreement to release the earnest money, the escrow agent will turn it over to the clerk of courts, and the two parties can go downtown and hash it out in small claims courts. The escrow agent can't make the decision. It's not their money to decide what to do. This rule about disputed trust funds is only about the earnest money deposit. This is not about the security deposit. The security deposit is covered under the North Carolina Tenant Security Deposit Act. And it's distribution. Questions on that? Disbursement or disputed funds, earnest money funds? The escrow agent has to deposit monies into the trust account within 3 banking days of receipt or contract formation. Again, let's talk about this for just a second. The typical way to do this, buyer and seller negotiate the offer, we go under contract, buyer now owes earnest money. Contract is formed. Contract is formed, earnest money is delivered to the escrow agent. They have 3 days from receipt to deposit the earnest money. That's probably the most common way to do it. We go under contract, buyer delivers earnest money, escrow agent has 3 days from receipt to deposit, banking days. Another way this could go down, you could be asked as a full broker to hang on to your buyer's earnest money deposit until and if contract formation. They could say, here's my earnest money, hang on to this for me. We're not going to deposit that until and if it becomes a contract. Please understand, the buyer doesn't owe any money until and if a contract is formed. So we're in the throes of negotiations. Maybe your buyer's out of town. Maybe they're going on vacation. They know they're going to be here when the contract is formed. So they go ahead and leave you with their check, hop on a plane, and they're gone. We're not going to deposit that check until 3 days from contract formation. So either 3 days from receipt or contract formation. The exception to this rule is cash. If your firm allows your buyer to hand you a big wad of cash for earnest money or security deposit, get that in the bank. Run, don't walk. Have your escrow agent get it in the bank. Cash is readily available funds. So if that offer never becomes a contract, we can immediately write a check back to the buyer. We don't have to wait for it to clear, but it's too much liability for anybody to walk around with, $5,000, or last year we saw earnest money amounts of up to like $50,000. So if your firm's policy allows you to accept cash, some firms have a policy that says no, it's got to be on some kind of paper. If they ever give you cash, We need to get it in the bank. Even if a contract hasn't been formed. You guys as provisional brokers, again, if you're ever handed that earnest money in the throes of negotiations, provisional brokers cannot walk around with somebody else's money. Your provisional broker, your buyer looks at you and says, I'm getting on a plane. Will you hang on to this check for me until the contract is formed? As a provisional broker, you must deliver that to your supervising BIC to hang on to until the contract is formed. Provisional brokers cannot walk around with somebody else's money. You get it from point A to point B. Full brokers should not walk around with somebody else's money. Provisional brokers cannot, full brokers should not. Once again, you guys, when you have somebody else's money in your hand, it is your responsibility. I highly recommend you get it to where it needs to go. And as we discussed, at some point, we're going to have money. We're going to have option money, or we're going to have due diligence fees. Again, we're simply acting as courier. We're simply acting as delivery man. Due diligence fee is not due to the escrow agent. It's not payable to the escrow agent. That goes straight from the buyer to the seller. Same thing with option. In which case, we just pick it up from one party and deliver it to the other. We're simply acting as a courier. When we have somebody else's money in our hand, we have to follow their instructions. So let's say, for example, you're a buyer's agent and you get your buyer under contract tonight. Yay. And you call your buyer and you say, I need to meet you in the morning so I can get your checks. I need to pick up a due diligence check and an earnest money check. Your buyer says, that's fine. Let's meet in the Chick-fil-A parking lot. So you meet your buyer, they hand you the checks. You are en route to deliver those checks. You're on your way to deliver those checks. And your buyer calls you and says, do not deliver those checks. We've got to follow their instructions. It's their money. We're just acting as delivery man. I can say stuff like, really? This might give the out for the seller to terminate. Buyer says, nope, I don't want you to deliver this. Okie doke, you're the boss. It is, everybody good with that? It is their money. So if they tell us to do something else with their money, we can tell them the consequences, possible consequences, but I can't say, nope, I'm going to deliver it anyway. They tell me to not deliver it, then we don't deliver it. Do I have questions on that? And as we've been saying, all of us are responsible for safeguarding our money. It doesn't matter if your firm has a trust account or not. We all have a duty to protect monies in our hand, monies in our possession. Any questions on the trust account? The last piece of the comment section that we've been looking at reminds us about BPOs and CMAs, broker price opinions, and comparative market analysis. Good refresher, good reminder of what we talk about. In Unit 17, CMAs and BPOs, remember only the appraiser is the one that can determine value. Unless you're a licensed appraiser, you can't use the word value. Real estate agents, we get to say probable sales price or probable lease price. Provisional brokers cannot do BPO or CMA for a fee. You can do them, but you cannot charge an extra fee. If you're doing as part of your job, trying to get the listing appointment or trying to get your buyer under contract, nobody can charge a fee. That's just part of our job. But if you're asked by a third party, hired by a third party to perform a BPO, to offer your estimate of probable sales price, as a provisional broker, you can do that, but you can't charge a fee. If you are doing it for a third party, a full broker doing it for a third party, and you are charging a fee, you need to make sure you're in compliance with both license law and commission rule. This is one of the rare things that we have that's covered under both law and rule. So if you start doing these things, or if you do one of these things for a third party for a fee, you got to make sure you're in compliance. And they have to be in writing, must be in writing. We're going to document these. Are we going to keep these in your transaction file, even if it's for a third party? Yeah. Because what do we document? Everything. I'm telling y'all, if y'all ever find yourself going, I wonder if I should keep this or not. Yes, keep it. We don't have many secrets in this industry. Questions on our BPO CMA? So that finishes up the comments. It's in the, I feel the need, I'd like to point this out again, because this is important. I do think of your state specific section, the comments is the bigger area. So under license law and commission rule, I'm telling you, if you guys can be familiar with these comments, if you know these comments, that's going to get you through the majority of the state section. So this is what we've gone over. We started this last class and we just finished this. So have any questions on this piece, on the comments? Please understand, your state specific section is not just the comments. This is a big piece of it, but there's more to it than that. We're going to talk about some other license law and commission rule that weren't addressed in the comments that we need to go back and pick up. I never asked you guys to read the law or the rule. I pointed you to a few directions. The comments is the big piece of it. The other thing, state specific, throughout this whole class from day one, if we've talked about something specific to North Carolina, in North Carolina, that's a good candidate for your state section. So as you guys are getting ready, specifically for the state exam, you guys, do you have your books with you? Do you have your books handy? I just opened my book to a random page. I just randomly opened up to page 408. You can probably look at any page. But if we just randomly open our book to page 408, You guys see in the left-hand margin near the bottom of page 408, it says in North Carolina. That's directing you to a state-specific thing. I'll share with you guys. I went to lunch one day with some coworkers, and our hostess was a former pre-licensing student. Now we were still in person, face to face, so she could easily recognize me. But she told me she passed the class and she'd been to the state exam. She passed the national, and she only missed the state-specific section by a couple points. In her hostess stand was her printed off copy of the comments with a highlighter. So when she wasn't seating tables, she was busily reading the comments. And she said, Julie, I just need a couple extra points. What can I do? I directed her to her book. I told her to flip through her book and look for the in North Carolina section, because that's a state-specific thing. We talked about stuff in the tenant, landlord and tenant, and subdivisions and stuff like that that's specific to the state. So don't just study the comments. By the way, I loved seeing her printout of the comments and a highlighter in her hostess stand. I can't tell you what that did my heart. That was so good to see. And her boss that was being so agreeable to allow her to study. But it's more than just the comments. And that's what we need to do now, other than what's in your book, state-specific stuff that we've talked about throughout this whole class. So what we need to do now is go back, license law and commission rule, and pick up some things that weren't discussed in the comments that may still be part of your exam. So talking a little bit more about general brokerage practices. There's a commission rule about having your proof of licensure. As we talked about, when you get your license, you'll get a nice 8.5 by 11, get you a frame for it. You can see I got mine displayed very proudly on the wall. I worked hard for that thing. So yes, I'm going to display it. Yes, I'm going to get a frame for it. Anybody else ready to run out and buy a frame for your license? Yeah, get you a frame. So once you get your license, you get the nice 8.5 by 11 that you can display proudly. In addition to that, each year that you renew your license, they will send you a pocket card. You can either print it out, cut it out, stick it in your wallet. It fits very nicely. Or within the last couple of years, they came out with a digital pocket card so you can carry it around on your phone. Each year you need a new pocket card. Anytime you're engaging in brokerage activity, you have to have that current pocket card. So if you're doing an open house, is that engaging in brokerage activity? If you're attending your continuing education classes, is that engaging in brokerage activity? Yes. Keep it in your pocket or keep it on your phone. Our wallets and phones don't go far, do they? So keep it with you at all times. I know a lot of schools, your pocket card is your admission ticket along with your driver's license to CE. In other words, if you don't have those, they're not letting you in. We're talking more about CE in just a second. As we said, every firm also has to have a license. The firm is required to display their license. The individual agent is not. Honestly, I never displayed my license until I started working from home. So the individual agent is not required to display their license, but the firm is. The firm has to renew every year. So proof of license.
So is it like a food handler permit that it's on the wall of the offices?
I'm sorry.
You ever go into a restaurant and you've seen the food handler's permit? So is that what it is?
It's proof that you're a licensed real estate firm. Yep. Another commission rule, again, one that we've actually talked about. I'm not allowed to disclose the terms of an offer without the offeror's permission. Think this through. Who's the offeror? Don't you say buyer. Who's the offeror? The offeror . anybody want to guess? Buyer's out. It's not the seller. The offeror, starting to see it come in the chat, is the giver of the offer, the creator of the offer. Is that the buyer? Sure. Could that be the seller? Yes. This is why I don't want you guys to get it stuck in your head that only the buyer makes the offer to the seller. Everybody with me? Counter offer, those roles reverse. The seller can make an offer to sell. So when you guys see offer or offeree, make sure you're seeing giver and receivee. So commission rule says we cannot disclose the terms of an offer without the authority of the offeror. This came up a lot the last couple years with this crazy multiple offer world that we're living in. And buyer's agents were calling listing agents and saying, what's the highest priced offer you have in your hand right now? Per commission rule, can the listing agent answer that question? No. Guys, there is no commission rule preventing the buyer's agent from asking. The commission rule says how you answer. And when that call came in, what's the highest priced offer, or what's the most due diligence, or what's the most earnest money? We cannot answer that question without the permission, express authority of the offeror. Is any offeror in their right mind going to give you permission to disclose the terms of their offer? No, because you're just setting the bar, right? What if, let's have some fun with this. What if you're a buyer's agent and you have two buyers interested in the same property? You're writing up this one offer for each buyer. Can I tell buyer A what buyer B is offering? Try to get them to up their game, try to strengthen their offer? Not without the offeror's permission.
Do we have to tell the other buyer that we have another buyer interested?
Nope. Could you? Sure. But there's no commission rule. Good question. Thank you. There's no commission rule. Actually, our buyer's agency agreement says I may be working with multiple buyers, and in some cases, I may be working with multiple buyers in the same, interested in the same property. So our buyer's agency agreement addresses that for us. Questions on this one?
So you can go under contract with multiple buyers?
No. Nope. You can only make multiple offers. The seller can only accept one offer to become a contract. Backup contract. Yeah, we're already under contract. So backup offer can become a backup contract. Still can't disclose the terms. We have a backup contract addendum that we looked at back in Unit 10. Blew my mind in the last couple of years. How many agents said, oh, the highest thing I have in my hand is X amount. I think as a listing agent, because we think we're doing what's best for our seller, right? Don't we want to get our seller the highest priced offer, the absolute best offer? So I think sometimes we're thinking that's what's in the best interest of our seller. Commission rule overrides that. Cannot disclose the terms of an offer without the offeror's permission. All right, so let's talk about your license renewal. We have to, well, let me say this. Our license expires each year at 11:59 p.m. on June 30th, unless we renew it. And the reason being is because the Real Estate Commission does not operate on a calendar year. They operate on a physical year. The Real Estate Commission's physical year is July 1st to June 30th. And we have to renew our license every year by 11:59 p.m. on June 30th in order to have an active license, one step to have an active license on July 1st. In order to renew your license, the commission has a renewal period. And the renewal period is May 15th to June 30th every single year. To renew your license, you have to submit the renewal fee between May 15th and June 30th. They will let you know that it is time to renew your license. You're going to get multiple emails, postcards in the mail. Your BIC's going to be all over you. So May 15th to June 30th, we renew our license by paying the renewal fee. The renewal fee is currently $45. It's been $45 for as long as I can remember. Understand though, that could go up. There are rules in place that say by how much. So in other words, they can't like jack it up to 90 next year. It's like a percentage that they can increase it if they do ever decide to increase it. Renewing your license by 11:59 p.m. on June 30th makes your license current. We're going to talk more about this current license. A current license means you have paid the renewal fee. When you guys see the word current, I actually want you to see the word currency. Your license is current because you paid the fee. This has nothing to do with education. A current license has nothing to do with education. It has everything to do with paying the fee. Failure to pay the fee means at the stroke of midnight on July 1st, your license is expired. Can you conduct brokerage activities on an expired license? Can you get paid a commission, a referral fee on an expired license? Nope. So what can you do on an expired license? And you can talk about how you used to be an agent, but that's it. So first off, there's a current license versus an expired license. A current license says you've renewed, you've paid the fee. It has absolutely nothing to do with education. Write that down, please. Current equals currency. Huge problem topic, you guys. Current equals currency. I'm very proud of the Real Estate Commission. Within, I'm not kidding, the last 5 or 6 years, maybe 7, they now have the renewal fee where you can pay it online. Wasn't that terribly long ago? We were still mailing checks to the Real Estate Commission. Welcome to the 21st century. Very proud. Just within the last 2 or 3 years, they said you can no longer call in with your credit card number. The only way to renew is go online. Once you guys get licensed, you'll have a log on to the Real Estate Commission's website, access to your personal information, and also the availability to pay your renewal fee. So 45 days to pay $45. A current license can be one of two things. A current license can be active. It's current because you paid the fee. To make a current license active, you've done your CE. We will talk about continuing education in just a second. So your current license can be active. There's only two things you have to do every year to maintain an active license. Pay the fee and do CE. Kind of rhymes and everything, doesn't it? How do you maintain an active license? You pay the fee and you do CE. Active status is the status in which you get paid. It's the status in which you can conduct brokerage activities. Your current license can also be inactive. So your current license, you paid the fee, and now it's down to a couple different things. It's current, which means you paid the fee, but you're inactive. Maybe you're a provisional broker without a broker in charge. Remember, when you guys get your license, you're going to be put on inactive status until you affiliate with a firm. So you're inactive if you're a PB without a BIC. Failure to do your CE on time means on July 1st, your license is inactive until you get your CE done. Again, talking about CE in just a second. Or as a provisional broker, if you don't complete your post licensing on time. Why don't you guys remind me in a private chat, as a provisional broker, a new licensee, how long do you have to complete post licensing? How long do you have to complete post licensing? Let's hear from everybody. Make sure we're all good. So as a provisional broker, how long do you have to take your complete your post licensing? You have 18 months. Failure to complete post licensing within 18 months of getting your license means that your license is inactive. Would this not be horrible? You're a new agent, you got busy, you're in the throes of a couple transactions, you get so busy you forget to do post licensing. 18 months is going to get here before you know it, right? It's only a year and a half. We know how time flies. Throes of the transaction, and poof, your license goes inactive. Did that just hurt a little bit? Please do post licensing within your 18 months. Don't be that scenario. A question came in, if you get an actual paper license, yes. So they will mail you a paper license. You can run out and get a frame for it. And they will also give you a pocket card each year that you renew, that you can put in your wallet, or you can have a digital copy. So an inactive license is current. Current means you've paid the fee. I'm going to say this again. A current license has everything to do with the money, paying the fee. It has nothing to do with education. And we need to pay attention to these words on our tests, such as current or expired. If it's expired, you didn't pay the fee. I don't care if you did your CE or not. If it's expired, you didn't pay the fee. If it's current, you did. Nicole, you should. You should get yeah, when you do get licensed. Questions on current versus expired. A current license can be either active or inactive. If your license is inactive because of a CE deficiency, so in other words, you don't do your CE on time. Well, let me say that again. an inactive license due to a CE deficiency. If you're inactive, but you've still been doing CE, maybe you chose to go inactive. Maybe you think you're done with real estate and you need to take a break. You know, life happens, right? Maybe you need to pause real estate to start a family. Maybe you're going to take care of a elderly parent. Maybe you got another job and you think you're done with real estate. I'm going to encourage you to maintain an inactive license, and I will tell you why in just a minute, but I highly recommend you pay that $45 every year and maintain a current license. You can do CE on an inactive license, as long as you pay that fee every single year. And if you're inactive and you want to reinstate your license, you're inactive and you want to go active. If you don't have a CE deficiency, all you got to do is submit the form. So at a minimum, if you guys ever go inactive, if you think you're done with real estate, at a minimum, you're going to keep paying that fee to keep an active license. And again, I'll tell you why in just a second. If you've been inactive and you've still been doing your CE, just submit the form. If you've been inactive for less than 2 years, and within that 2 years, you have a CE deficiency, they're going to make you go get caught up on CE. So they're going to make you do the current year update and 1 to 2, maybe even 3 electives to get caught up. You've been active for less than 2 years and you have a CE deficiency, you get caught up on CE, call the commission, they will tell you how much CE you need to activate. If you're inactive for more than 2 years with a CE deficiency, they're going to make you do this year's CE, and they're going to make you come back and do 2 out of the 3 post-licensing classes, pass both tests within 6 months. Your choice of which 2. They don't tell you which 2 of 3. But the thinking here is that if you've missed more than 2 years of CE, you've missed a lot. Guys, please understand, real estate is constantly moving, constantly changing. And if you haven't had any kind of education, any kind of CE in 2 years, you're missing out. You wake up one day and decide you want to reactivate. You've been paying the fee, but you wake up and decide you want to reactivate. You do CE, and then you go back and take a couple post-licensing. So I just mentioned, I think you guys should send in. If you think you're done with real estate, I highly recommend sending in the $45 every year and maintaining a current license. Is this tough to have to go back to post-licensing if you've been more than 2 years? Is that tough? I mean, this is like worst case scenario here. Well, not really. If your license goes expired means you didn't pay the fee. How you reinstate an expired license, if you've been expired for less than 6 months, you wake up on July 2nd and you go, holy crow, I didn't pay my fee. It's okay. You have a $45 renewal fee, a $45 reinstatement fee. You submit the form and poof, you're active again, assuming you're up to date on your education. If you're expired for 6 months to 2 years and you wake up and you decide you want to reactivate your license, you pay both those fees, renewal fee and reinstatement fee. You go back and take a post-licensing, or you go back to PSI Testing Center and pass the state exam. What do you think most people choose here? Post-licensing, for sure. So 6 months to 2 years on an expired license, reinstating an expired license. You pay some fees, you got to get some education. Are y'all ready? What happens if your license is expired for more than 2 years expired more than 2 years and you wake up and say, I want to get into real estate again. Are y'all ready? You have to start all over, which means we will see you in pre-licensing again. As much as I enjoy seeing you guys, I'd much rather see you in post. This happens a lot, you guys. Again, people think they're done with real estate. I'm going to save $45 a year. I'm not going to pay the commission. So you don't, your license goes expired, fast forward 5 years, 10 years, whatever. And you wake up and say, real estate. Remember when I used to do that? And you call the commission and you say, I had a license 10 years ago. What do I have to do? And the commission's saying, start all over. I ask you, is it worth sending in the $45 and riding on an inactive license the rest of your life? I can't really answer that for you. I see a lot of people telling me that you do think it's worth it. Stay out of this class. Is that horrible? Guys, the last face-to-face class I taught before we moved to Zoom, I had two pre-licensing students that were there because they had formerly had a license and their license had expired and had been more than 2 years, and they woke up and said, I want to do real estate again. Does everybody hear me? I highly recommend you pay the fee. You could ride for the rest of your life on an inactive license. I've heard instructors say that they've given their family instructions that says, if I'm ever on life support when the renewal period rolls around, pay that fee on my behalf. Because when I get off the machine, I want to at least be inactive. Questions on this? Expired in more than 2 years. So current versus expired, all about the fee. A current license can be active or inactive. Right. Let's take a break. And we're back. Taking attendance. I got a question in the chat while we were on break, so I certainly want to make sure I address that. So let me take attendance real quick. Question regarding the fee is here it is. Is the fee the same if it's less than 6 months or if it's 6 months to 2 years? And the answer is yes. So there's when we say 2 times the fee, you'd have the renewal fee of $45 plus a reinstatement fee of $45. So you're looking at $90 for anything less than 2 years as far as the fees go. That answer? Is that good? And then the big scary thing that we left with was failure to, y'all can just pay the fee. I think it's just easier that way. Just pay the fee. Any questions about how you renew your license, maintaining an active license? By the way, the firm has to renew each year, so they have a fee to pay. They don't have education per se, just the individual brokers within the firm. Also covered under this section is soon to be you guys and your supervision by a broker in charge. And here's the deal. Once you get your license and you affiliate with a BIC, your license becomes active. You're an active provisional broker. And as long as you're supervised by a broker in charge, you can do just about everything that a full broker can do. The key is you have to be supervised by a broker in charge. Some things that the provisional broker can't do that we've talked about, you can't charge a fee to do BPO or CMA. You can't walk around with somebody else's earnest money. You need to immediately get that to your BIC. And as the broker in charge, you can't be designated opposite. I'm sorry, as your provisional broker, you can't be designated opposite of your broker in charge. The BIC and the PB cannot be designated opposite each other. Shake your head, yes or no. Can the BIC and PB be in dual together? Yes or no? Can they be in dual? Yes. It's the firm that's in dual. So they often are in dual together. They can't be designated dual agency. Do we hear that? I just saw clicks. I love seeing clicks. They can be dual. They cannot be designated. Questions on that? Remember, as of just a couple years ago, the provisional broker can be dual affiliated. You can have 2 BICs, but both BICs need to be under the same roof. So the example of a provisional broker that's allowed 2 BICs is if you join a team and you join a team that has a BIC. There's no structure yet for teams. I feel like coming soon from the Real Estate Commission. So right now, teams are kind of out there doing what they want. Some people team up to market and advertise together. Some people actually form a team. And if they're actually forming a team, they may opt to have a broker in charge. And if the team is designed that way, if they do have a BIC, then the provisional broker can be dual affiliated. Again, both BICs just need to be under the same roof. You could face disciplinary action if your credit card is declined. May it be when you're submitting your application for the state exam, when you're renewing your license. Make sure you have the money in the account before you hit submit. So let's talk about CE. Again, one of those topics we've danced all around, but let's talk about CE now. So CE is our continuing education. We have to do 8 hours of CE each year. We do a 4-hour update course and a 4-hour elective course. The update course is the same for licensees across the state. The update course is the Real Estate Commission's opportunity to communicate with all of us. The last count I saw when they send out the e-bulletin each month, they send a licensee count. And last count I saw, I think there were like 106,000 active licensees in the state of North Carolina. So that's one way that they can get that same information out to all of us as an update course. Now we have 2 update courses. There's the general update, also known as the Gen Up. The Gen Up is for provisional brokers and full brokers. And then there's a broker in charge update, also known as the BIC Up. The BIC Up is for those that are BIC eligible or the designated broker in charge. So you want to make sure you take the appropriate update course to get credit. If you're a full broker and you accidentally take the BIC Up, you're not going to get credit for it. So make sure the update course matches your status. And then the other CE that we do is an elective of our choosing. I know this sounds weird, but elective is more of a fun topic of your choosing. What are you interested in knowing about? What's your niche? Are you in commercial, property management? You want to learn more about contracts, agency? I'm going to venture out there and say that if you think of a real estate related topic, there's a really good chance that there's an elective course for it. Going green housing, there used to be, I don't know if it's still out there, but we used to have a 4-hour elective course called The Truth About Mold. 4 hours about mold. It actually was pretty interesting. I'm not going to lie. So the elective course, as long as it's an approved elective course, most schools offer both CE classes. Your local board of realtors. The deadline to do CE every year is June 10th. June 10th, June 10th, June 10th, June 10th. Let's put June 10th up there with like your birthday, anniversary, Christmas, like very important date, right? June 10th. Is there any tracking preventing you from taking the same elective? Yeah, they do keep track of it. I'm not sure if they really look at it or not, but again, you can log on to your account with the commission when you get a license number, and it shows, I mean, I think it shows me like the last 8 or 10 years I've done CE. So it shows me, and I don't know how often they say, I think at least 2 years, you can't take the same elective 2 years in a row. Have fun with the elective, you guys. Have fun with it. A topic of your choosing. Again, what a great opportunity to learn about your niche or your field or your interest and satisfy 4 of your 8 hours of CE. I just signed up for my CE elective this morning. It's agency and procuring cause. So we'll see what that's going to be about. Quite frankly, with that one, it was the convenience of the time. It wasn't so much the topic. It's what I could get in. I will answer that in just a second. CE, when does it start? I will answer that in just 1 second. So remember what we just said. The commission's physical year is July 1st to June 30th, every single year. The time you have to renew your license, the renewal period, is May 15th to June 30th. CE deadline falls on June 10th. So let's talk about the scenarios. What happens? What if, what if, what if? Your birthday's in June? Perfect. I had a student, your birthday was June 10th. I said, awesome. I don't care how you remember. Put that date on a flashcard if you have to. So this is what's up. We have from May 15th to June 30th to pay the $45 renewal fee. May 15th to June 30th is the renewal period. Pay the fee during that time. CE, they generally release the new material for each year, August or September. So August or September, you can start doing CE. Whenever they release the material and schools start offering it, you can take CE, and you have any time to take 4 hours between whenever they start it until June 10th. Failure to pay the fee means your license is expired. If you pay the fee, but you don't do CE by June 10th, you pay the fee, but you don't do CE by June 10th. When you wake up or the stroke of midnight on July 1st, your license is inactive. So if you don't do CE by the deadline, you have 20 days to get the transaction closed before your license goes inactive. Here's the deal. No school or educator provider in the state of North Carolina is allowed to offer CE for credit after June 10th. The Real Estate Commission has put a blackout period from June 11th to June 30th. Nobody can offer CE. The reason being, remember I just mentioned like 106,000 active licensees? There's like 45 people that work at the Real Estate Commission. They're busy. This is their busy season. I hope they bring in temp help. I really do. But they need time to process everybody's fee, process everybody's CE, and make sure that your license is good to go on July 1st. So they got to cut CE at some point, and they cut it on June 10th. Please don't be a daredevil and try to do CE on June 9th or June 10th. Because if something happens and you miss it, on July 1st, your license is inactive, assuming you've paid the fee. Your license is inactive, and it will remain inactive until you can get into a CE class. You may find a school that offers a CE the 1st of July for the people that forgot to do CE. You may also get to travel somewhere. I don't know if they're doing it on Zoom or not. Most schools, not all schools, but most schools don't pick CE up again until August or September. Please, please don't wait until the last minute. Guys, things happen. And there are no excuse. Well, let me rephrase that. For the CE deadline, the commission may grant you an extension if you can prove a hardship. A hardship is not, I got busy and I forgot. A hardship is active military deployment, major medical illness, medical issue. Interestingly enough, in 2020, the pandemic was considered a hardship. They actually extended the CE deadline, but we still had to pay the fee. Always pay the fee. When in doubt, just throw money at them. Always pay the fee. June 10th, June 10th, June 10th. Back in my admin days, I was kind of the lane of a real estate school. I'm telling y'all, on June 11th, my phone was blowing up. I didn't do CE. What do I do? Get it closed. There's nothing we can do about this. The commission cuts it off on June 10th. So we pay the renewal fee by May 15th to June 30th. We do CE by June 10th. And that's what we have to have an active license on July 1st. Pay the fee and do CE. Questions so far on CE? All right, y'all want some good news? We need some good news, don't we? You guys as new licensee, You don't have to take CE your first renewal period. You do have to pay the fee, but you don't have to do CE until your second renewal period. Whatever day you get your license, I want you to draw a timeline because I need you to see this. So let's see, you guys are testing on March 2nd. Let's say you run out and get your license on April 4th. Congratulations, it's April 4th and you have your license. Draw yourself a timeline. The first time you hit May 15th and June 10th, so you get your license on April 4th. For example, the first time you hit May 15th, you have to pay the fee. The first time you hit June 10th, June 10th. Hang on. There we go. The first time you hit June 10th, you do not have to do CE. You don't have to do CE in this scenario until June 10th, whatever's next year. 2024. Yeah, I'm still trying to wrap my brain around 2023. This is why I want you to do the timeline. So the first renewal period, when you get your license, the first renewal period, always pay the fee. But you don't have to do CE. The thinking is, the reason being is because you just got out of pre-licensing. You might be in the throes of post-licensing. The reasoning for this is because they understand you're getting the current information. So no CE your first June 10th. CE every June 10th after that, along with the fee, for as long as you want a real estate license. How do you keep an active license? Fee and CE after your first year. Put these dates on your calendar. June 10th is the CE deadline. June 30th is the renewal period. Questions on CE, renewing your license, how to keep maintain an active license once you get it. Good question. Does post licensing count as CE? Two different things, two different departments down at the Real Estate Commission. So post licensing is one thing, CE something else. Good try. I appreciate the the thought, but no, two separate things. There's also a section specific to post licensing. This is what it says. We got 30 hours for a total of 90 hours of post licensing. You have to complete all 3 within 18 months, which means you got to pass all 3 tests. Again, you guys, please don't wait until you're 17 and a half months to say, oh, I got 2 weeks to do post. I'm going to do all 90 hours in 2 weeks. No. Don't let this date get away from you. They will remind you that it's the renewal period. They will pester you that it's CE season. They will let you know. Trust me. They're not going to remind you that it's time to do your post licensing. That's on you. So remember last week we got a calculator.net and we put a date in for 18 months and it gave you the exact date. Again, they may grant you an extension if you can prove a hardship. Hardship is not, I got busy. Hardship is not, I'm working with lots of buyers right now and I didn't have time. That's not a hardship. The 3 the 3 post licensing classes, they're 301, 302, and 303. 301 is brokerage relationships and responsibility. 302 is contracts and closing. 303 is North Carolina law, rule, and concepts. You can take them in any order. You don't have to take them in any certain order, however you can get them in. Get them in and get them done within your 18 months. Questions on post licensing? How hard are the post licensing tests? Not near as intense as pre. Post is not near as intense as pre, but we're digging a little deeper. We're learning a little bit more about each 3 topics. So you still need to commit, do the suggested homework assignments. Unfortunately, I have known people to fail the post licensing. So please don't think you got a golden ticket because you got a license. You still need to put in the effort. But I'm telling you, post is not near as intense as pre. Also in license law and commission rule, we cover timeshares. Again, one of those things that's covered in both. Don't pay attention to the page numbers. Don't pay attention to the page numbers. All you need to know from this slide is that timeshares are covered under both license law and commission rule. Specifically, what I think you do need to know about timeshares, we covered way back in Unit 2. What do we know about timeshares? Y'all want to do this together? What do we remember? 5, 5, 5, 10. Jazz hands, just for fun. Y'all don't forget the jazz hands. Let's do it again. 5, 5, 5, 10. Jazz hands. Isn't that better? Everything's better with jazz hands. All right. So what we need to remember, what we need to know about timeshares, the definition of a timeshare is the right to occupy a unit during at least 5 or more separate time periods over at least 5 years. I need you to see the at least, meaning 5 is the minimum. So if you get a test question that says 10 separate time periods over 10 years, is that considered a timeshare? Yes. If you see 3 separate time periods over 3 years, is that a timeshare? No. I need you to pay attention to that at least. At least is the minimum. The buyer has 5 days to rescind their contract. We go under contract, the buyer has 5 days to change their mind, back out. As long as they exercise their rights, they back out within 5 days, they'll get their deposits back. Consumers are protected with timeshares. And then the timeshare developer has a duty to keep your deposit, the buyer's deposit, in their escrow account for 10 days or until that contract is rescinded. So buyer goes under contract, they choose to rescind, the timeshare developer just refunds their money. The timeshare developer does have the right to make sure that that check is going to clear the bank before they issue a refund. So if we go under contract today and the buyer terminates tomorrow, the timeshare has the developer to make sure that the right to make sure that that check is cleared. On day 10, they move the deposit from the trust account to the escrow account or to the operating account. So they hang on to it in their trust account for 10 days. After that, they move it to their operating account and do it whatever their practice allows. And then the real estate commission, again, you guys, this is the only time the real estate commission is going to fine a licensee. And in this case, they can fine a timeshare developer up to $500 per violation. There are a couple other things that we need to discuss briefly with the timeshare. Lots of green stars coming up. I truly believe if you get a question about a timeshare, it's going to be something from this slide. However, the syllabus covers a few other things. If it's on the syllabus, it's a candidate for the test. So I do want to make sure we go over it briefly. This is one of these, we're not going to spend all of our study time on timeshares, but we do need to be familiar with a few things. First off, with timeshares, we have some definitions. There's a board of directors, kind of acts as the Timeshare Owners Association. If the timeshare is owned by an individual owner, there should be the ability for them to resell their timeshare. How that works, what all's involved, it needs to be in their contract. Remember, they have 5 days to rescind, so we go under contract. And then you don't like the resale terms, you have 5 days to rescind and get your deposit back. The developer is the person or entity which creates the timeshare. They have developed the timeshare. It's their baby, if you will. Could be an exchange company. If you're operating an exchange program. For example, I had a buddy, his parents have a timeshare in Myrtle Beach. About 10 years ago, he took that week from Myrtle Beach and he went to Scotland. He went to a timeshare in Scotland. He could exchange his time from Myrtle Beach and go to Scotland. Isn't that cool? I mean, like, thanks, mom and dad, you know? So they may have an exchange program. Maybe you have to go to the same place year after year after year. Maybe not. Timeshares have to be registered with the Real Estate Commission. The commission has got to know about a timeshare. You got to be registered. It can help keep watch on you or the developer. Failure for the developer to register the timeshare could result in a felony, a class 1 felony, which means you might get to spend a year away. Big building with the little windows, you could go away. Timeshare salesperson can either have an active license with the Real Estate Commission or they can be a W-2 employee of the developer. If they're a W-2 employee of the developer, they can still be a salesperson as long as they're managed directly by the developer. Timeshare salespersons have much more flexibility than the typical salesman. But remember, the timeshare developer has been registered with the commission. They know they're there. They're watching their every move. So yeah, more flexibility, but they also have a tighter rein. The developer has to record their timeshare instruments. If you have an interest, it needs to be recorded. You own property, you only own it for example, 1 week out of the year. So because it's a form of ownership, it does need to be recorded. The developer has to record within 180 days, so it's on record. As we said, when we go under contract, you put your deposit down. The developer has to keep that in the escrow account for 10 days. So 180 days to record the property interest, the ownership interest. The developer has to offer what's referred to as a public offering statement to, don't write this down, y'all, please don't write this down. To the contracting buyer. What we need to know about this, a public offering statement, it just gives us information about the timeshare. Name and principal, general description, what's the duration of the time, method of purchase used. So the public offering statement just kind of gives the rules and expectations of the timeshare. So developer has to offer their public offering statement. Purchaser's right to cancel, have 5 days. If the purchaser doesn't get the public offering statement before contract, they need to get it immediately following contract. Their 5-day clock would start then. The developer cannot waive these rights. They can't write them out of their timeshare agreement. So midnight of the 5th day. Cancel your contract. If you put down any deposits, you'll get those back. The commission can take disciplinary action on a timeshare developer or any licensed timeshare salespeople. Disciplinary action with the licensees is the same as what you and I could face: suspension, revocation, slap on the wrist. In addition to disciplinary action, if the developer themselves in violation, the developer can be fined up to $500 per day. And all of this very well might result in a hearing. May that be in a court of law, or may that be in front of our 9 commissioners. Depending on what the violation is, they can take disciplinary action. Failure for timeshare developers to comply with license law or commission rule could be a class 1 misdemeanor. Now we're looking at fines and jail time. They're highly regulated, aren't they? Each timeshare development needs a registrar and a project broker. The registrar is the person that records the instruments. They release the liens when the timeshare sells. So they're responsible for making sure that the documents get down to. The project broker is the one that's responsible for the day-to-day operations. And a project broker for a timeshare, think of our designated broker in charge. They're operating the day-to-day operations of salespeople, unlicensed people, escrow account. So the project brokers managing, just think of them as the BIC. Apologize, for some reason, it looks like I have a duplicate. So we just said that. We just said that. I don't know what happened. Timeshare developers, how long do you think they have to keep all records? Retention of records, how many years? Take a guess. Yeah, 3. They follow the same licensing, general principles that we do. They also have to be in compliance with agency disclosure, agency agreements. They are licensees. They're just regulated a little different. Similar rules with handling the deposits, the earnest money, the trust accounts, as we've been saying, they got to keep everything in their account, trust account for 10 days. They need to deposit all funds immediately following receipt. So the next bank, or the next time they go to the bank, they need to deposit those funds. Again, our project brokers like the BIC. So then you display, there's a certificate. There we go. Make sure everybody's in compliance with license, law, and commission rule. Notifying the commission of any change of name, address, employment status, licensees. Deposit and maintain the trust account. And retain all records. They too document everything. Keep it for 3 years. Questions on timeshares? What do we need to know about timeshares for the test? Let's do it one more time. 5, 5, 5, 10. Jazz hands.
Can I ask one question? You had said
Sure.
that if they're a W-2, of course, they don't need to be a license, but if they're selling them, don't they have to be an active license?
As long as they're an employee of the developer, that is one thing that's a little bit different with them. So they can either be a licensed agent or they can be a W-2 employee of the developer. Like I said, they get a little bit more freedom in some cases, but in a lot of cases, they have a lot more rules. Anything else about timeshares? Guess what, you guys? We're done. Appendix A does have a key point review. It starts on page 729. I don't think there's much different. If there's any conflict, I refer you back to what we just covered. Always reach out to me if you come across a conflict. There is also a good student quiz on your book on 737. And then there's some quizzes in the online learning system as well for license, law, and commission rule. I cannot stress the importance of this section. Guys, I'm very serious when I say this. Across the state, testing candidates are most likely to go to PSI Testing Center and pass the national, but not pass a state on the first try. I think this is for several reasons. First off, the state specific is very specific. It's very precise. The second reason for this, I think you're tired by the time you get to the state section. You've just done 2.5 hours of the national. You take a little 15-minute break and now you get, I think, an hour and a half of the state. Get you a good night's sleep the night before. What's mama tell us? Get a good night's sleep, eat a good breakfast in the morning. Don't eat too much. Please don't discount the license, law, and commission rule, the state specific section. We want you to get through both sections the first try at PSI Testing Center. What questions do I have? Yeah, that's it. Y'all know what I know. You have all the material you need for your test. Did you think we'd ever get here? So let's talk about what tomorrow looks like. Again, I need you guys here tomorrow night, even though we're done with material, we're still not like done. Tomorrow night, we're going to Kahoot, and it'll be our last Kahoot. We'll try to get through it. So we'll Kahoot, we'll do our license law and commission rule Kahoot. I do have another important topic we need to discuss. It's not a testable topic, but it's still very important. Maybe one of the most important things we discuss in this class, and that's on agent safety. So we're going to have a good, hard conversation about safety. I want you guys to be safe. Rules and expectations for the exam. And then I'm just going to open it up for a Q&A. So if you guys have questions, please, if you're referring to a test question, please bring the actual test question so we can see each word. I think we all know by now that one word can change the meaning of the whole answer, the whole question, everything. So if we don't see the question, again, bring the specifics so we can look at it. But we'll just kind of, once we do what we got to do tomorrow night, like I said, we'll just open it up for a free for all. Will you guys answer? I'm just curious in the chat. Are you guys, and you can tell me Y or N. I'm just trying to get a feel. Are you guys working on Thursday? Your normal hours? Actually, you can shake. Yeah, don't do chat. I'm sorry. Just shake your head yes or no. Are you guys working normal hours on Thursday? Some are, some aren't. Okay. All right. I think we've been pretty good about being able to get here on time. It's going to be really, really important that we get here on time, because one thing we're going to learn tomorrow is I can't start the test until I have everybody checked in. So being here on time on Thursday is going to be pretty important. Make sure we get everybody checked in. I'll talk about the check-in process tomorrow. I'll talk about what all that's going to look like. What do we say? What do we have? What do we know? How are we feeling? Thumbs ups? So-so? Kind of? I know it's a lot. You remember I sat where you sat one time, right? We'll get that in a second. I just had a question come in. If you want to stick around for it, you're welcome to. Otherwise, you're free to go. And we'll see you guys tomorrow at 5:30. So let's see. The question came in on page 825.
I'm asking her about 64 on 825.
Number 64 on 825. Let's see what we got here. All right, 64. Which of the following statements is false? So an active North Carolina real estate license is needed to sell timeshares. That's correct. Public offering statement must be given to a buyer. Developers of timeshare. So which one is false?
Yes,
D is false.
because of the 10 days.
Because of the 10 days, it's got to stay in the account for 10 days, right? Or cancellation, whichever occurs first. And the other thing that's throwing me a flag is the escrow account has to be in an FDIC bank. So I wonder if, and I don't know, now I'm asking, is an insured bank or a savings and loan? I don't think a savings and loan is FDIC. Maybe it is, I'm not sure. But what makes D false is the number of days.
No, and this is how crazy I am. Again, I was having issues with what is false because you said an active North Carolina real estate is needed to sell timeshares in North Carolina.
And that might be one of those old, because that's a fairly recent rule change within the last 3 or 4 years. So that might be one of those old rules carries that the book just hasn't updated. And that's why Appendix A makes me really nervous, because there have been some changes in Appendix A, but overall, I think most of this quiz, but you're right. And within the last 3 or 5 years, they said that you can also be a W-2 employee. So technically we have 2 falses here. But knowing that the rule changed, the answer they're looking for is D.
And that's what I figured, because it definitely says 3 days instead of 10.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Good catch.
Again, I cannot stand those except and false questions.
It like makes us rethink everything we thought we know didn't. Because think about this. The reason it's right is because it's wrong. And it's really hard for us to think this is the right answer because it says 3 days. So that's where when you see false or accept, I recommend the true false method, because what we're looking here is the odd man out, right? I don't know why. All I know is it's false, and that's what makes it the odd man out. So if you do the true false method, you have 3 trues and a false. And then we can know that odd man out is going to be the right answer. I know, I get it.
Yeah, and I thank you for that, because that's what I've had to do every time now. The
Good,
true false.
good.
So.
And does it kind of helps you? Because I mean, I think you can almost always eliminate one question, like, or one answer choice, like right away. Not always, but almost always. But now you're down to 2 or 3. And here's the thing too, because your test is looking for the best answer of the choices provided. Does that mean that is the best answer out there in the universe? No, but it's the best answer of the choices provided. I know I've heard somebody say that you're looking for the least wrong answer choice. And again, our brains just have a hard time in general with that, you know? So yeah, those false accept questions, 3 trues and 1 false.
There was one about voidable contracts, and it was about, and 2 of the answers were, one was a 17-year-old and the other one was incompetent, and you had to pick incompetent, but really 17-year-olds can be voidable too.
Yeah, absolutely. The minor can make it voidable because the judge can't force the minor to carry through with the terms of the contract. So the minor can make it voidable.
Careful with that, because the incompetent isn't voidable. It's void.
If it's been determined by a court of law. So if you've been determined incompetent by the medical profession, it's voidable. Incompetent by a court of law, now it's void. That's a little bit more into post-licensing, but yeah, incompetent by a court of law can make the contract void. So with voidable, one party has the right to stand up and say, I shouldn't have to carry through with the terms of this contract. Void means we never had a contract to begin with. We're missing one of those essential elements.
Julie, I
Alright.
have a question.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Were you done? Carrie?
Unmute. She's done.
Okay. Julie, my question is the License Law Commission rule comments. I was doing the quiz and I got it right, but I don't understand why it was right. So the other choices just didn't make sense. So
what number are you on?
So it was 9 of 30. It's an active non-provisional real estate broker in North Carolina may. And the correct answer was split the commission with the buyer client if it is disclosed to the lender and noted on the settlement statement. So
that one, I know that's a hard one too. We didn't really, again, I think that's more of a post-licensing topic, but technically we can share our commission with our clients because they are a party to the transaction. And this actually came up, I know, right?
Why would you want to?
This
Like the
actually
other
came
was
up-
it just didn't make sense. That's why I got it right. But yeah, I was
It
confused.
actually came up a few years ago. It became popular again because again, buyers, were in a tough market and agents were like scrambling to get business, get buyers. And some agents were telling buyers, if you hire me, I'll share my commission with you. And they absolutely can do that. Now, firm's policy, right? But the commission allows it. And the reason that they can be unlicensed and get a commission is because they are a party to the transaction. So
Okay.
I agree with you. Why would anybody do that, right? Like, I think I can sell my services better than offering to split my, I work hard for my commission. Are you kidding me? But yeah, that was a thing in the last couple of years. So
I was just like, I don't think we've ever covered that. But again, the other three choices just didn't make any sense. So
we can't prepare deeds. We know we can't
Yeah.
interpret. Place
And
an
place an
ad
ad.
today for a listing that she anticipate. Yeah, no, we can't, so.
Right.
So another one of those process of elimination things.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all don't
As
give
a-
up your commission though. Y'all work hard enough for it.
And
As
then
an
one last
example-
question that I had was about the gifts. So if a person, like, if you want to give a person a bottle of wine or a dinner gift card, can you do that if they're unlicensed?
Yeah, as long as the commission says nominal value,
Okay.
like 25 to 50 bucks, I think. I don't know what it means if it's $24.99, but if it's nominal value, so you can give a gift to a buyer, seller, at client at closing.
Okay. No, like if my sister, well, let's say a coworker of mine referred someone to me and she's unlicensed, can I give her a gift card? Okay.
That falls under, that's a gray area right there, Kelly, and that may fall under that nominal. I can't give them a referral fee,
Mhm.
but technically no. Because
you could-
anything of value, may that be a bottle of wine or a dinner or a gift card or something, I'm paying them in exchange for that referral. And that's where.
Okay, but I could give it to my buyer client at closing, long as,
Seller
do you have to
client, yeah.
report that or no?
No, not like to the commission, no. Keep up with
Okay.
that for your tax purposes, right? Because that could be a business expense.
We're like the lender or whoever, like, no, you don't have to report. Okay, okay. Thank you.
As an example on the commission question you had,
Mhm.
when we bought this house, we weren't going to pay over X, and the seller needed to net out a certain amount. So the agents actually dropped their commission so the seller could close the transaction.
So the firm agreeing to reduce their commission is what Tom's talking about. What Kelly's talking about is after closing, Tom, I actually write you a check and say, thank you. So the firms, and that's not uncommon at all for the firms, because if we see things are starting to go south, we very well may pull our resources to do what we need to do to make this happen. And it sounds like that's what the firms in your situation did. They agreed to take less than the agreed upon commission.
I got a
Versus
beautiful
me
piece
saying,
of-
thanks for being my client. Here's a check to Tom and Carrie McGee. That's not going to happen, by the way. Yes, ma'am.
I just was gonna say, I got a beautiful piece of artwork for selling my property from the broker. So,
Okay, nice. I've seen some cool things. Y'all, my favorite. There's a company out there. I can't remember their name. You can Google it. But they will make like a little dollhouse of the house. So if there's like a little girl, is that not the sweetest thing you've ever heard? And you can get like a model size, or you can get like a little dollhouse of the house you just bought. Is that not precious? So there's some really clever, some really creative thank you gifts out there. Whenever you send in a thank you gift, make sure it's got your name and your brand on it, so they remember who to call, right? 5 years, 10 years from now, they got that cutting board with Coldwell Banker on it. Every time they see that, they think, oh yeah, my agent Kelly was great, But, and then talk to your accountant, because those gifts may be part of a a tax, it's a business expense. So advertising, marketing, especially if it has your name on it, you know, so talk to that accountant. But I've seen some clever, very cute closing gifts out there.
Are you going to give us tips tomorrow on how not to draw a blank, calm anxiety, and all of that good stuff?
You want to
Okay.
know the number one thing I'm going to tell you tomorrow, Kelly?
What's that?
Breathe. Yep. Yeah, that comes in. Yeah, we'll talk about, you know, things you guys can do to, help you stay calm. If, you know, when you read a question and you say, oh my God, I've never seen this before in my entire life, stop, breathe, bookmark it, you know, come back. So yeah, we'll go over that tomorrow night as well.
Well, y'all
Good
have a
night,
good night.
everyone.
Good night. Good night. Thank you.